Hey, everybody, and welcome to So Confused with Britt Miller. I am so just grateful to have you with me here today. And there is something that I really want to talk about. There is something that has escaped from the corporate world and it has entered the streets. And I really need to talk about it because I invited a friend for brunch and she actually told me that she did not have the bandwidth for brunch. You could have just said, I can't come, girl. And I would have been like, okay. But the bandwidth. And then I realized something. I sat down, y'all, and I started just thinking to myself, and I said, this is bigger than work. What is happening here? And then I realized it. This is a whole cult. I know. I can hear the voices out there saying, Britt, you're going a little bit far. You're going a little bit too far. It's a job. You go. They pay you. How can this be a cult? But to go to that job and to get paid well. Well, the more you're a part of the cult, the better it gets for you. The more you understand the language, the easier it could possibly be. Let me tell you, this is a very business casual, open floor plan, standing meeting cult. No robes, no candles, just Gerald telling me not to boil the ocean on a Wednesday morning call. Listen, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this because we may be all so confused together, but I think we can straighten this out. Let's get into it. So let's first talk about, where did all this begin? Where did it come from? How did it get started? Somebody sat in a room one day and said, you know what? Instead of saying, let's get back to that, because that's what it means. They said, let's circle back. And instead of being escorted out of the building, everyone just kind of wrote it down, nodded, and started saying it to themselves and started saying it out loud. This is cult behavior. It made no sense. And I think that's exactly how it started. Now, corporate language actually traces back to the 1980s and the 1990s, the rise of the management consultant NBA culture. You remember that? Big firms that came in and they were sounding smart and they were talking in this way what required decoding. And that made them seem smarter. See, when you're saying something that nobody else understands, that corporate jargon, nobody questions you. Everybody in the room kind of feels like they're slow, maybe. But this isn't about communication. This is about belonging. So it really is a signal, a code, a private handshake that says, if you belong in the room or you don't belong in the room. And here's how you know it's a cult, my friends. There are insiders and outsiders, and the insiders believe in the cult. The insiders use the language naturally, quickly expect everyone around them to know exactly what they're talking about and to never use real words. The outsider is the rest of us, sitting in meetings, nodding, typing in chats, quietly Googling what these words mean, asking questions. What is he talking about? The outsiders and the insiders. The insiders just are fluent with this dialect and they've learned to use this language in a way that others don't. It's a culture break. Now we can kind of say, they came from the streets. I mean, there's a street language and then there's a corporate language, right? But the corporate language has excluded others. It was created so outsiders may not understand. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper into this because I have to walk you through some of these and I'm going to give you the translations, what they say versus what they really mean. Okay, so let's go back to the one I've been using a lot, which is circle back. What they say. Let's circle back on that. What that really means is I don't want to deal with that right now. Let's talk about that later. So I have been circled back on numerous occasions, right? And you never really circled back. The circle never goes back to, you simply spiral. Another one is move the needle. When they say, hey, let's move the needle on that, or when we move the needle, it's expectations. It's what you hope to happen, but what needle? Where does it move to? What are we talking about? What are the measurements? What does it hurt? What is this about? Moving the needle, but the needle never moves. And you never hear them say, we move the needle I don't know. Maybe I'm not on track, but move the needle. I've been talking about boiling that ocean, right? Taking on everything at the same time. You don't have to boil the ocean. Where did that come from? Where ocean boiling, taking on, because I don't know. I don't know where that came from. It's a benchmark. It's a point that you're going to get to, but let's just not do it. Let's never boil the ocean. Okay. Now there's low hanging fruit. What they say when they want to focus on things that are easy to get to first. We don't work too hard. We're trying to move quick. So let's get that low hanging fruit, which is fine sometimes. That's a valid strategy. But I don't know. I don't know that one. I don't understand the low hanging fruit, but I've heard it a lot, especially as a recruiter. Another one. Let's take this offline. All right, take that offline, right? Or you're in a meeting, two people are talking, it's getting heated, or they're sharing way too much information that everybody doesn't need to know, and it's going on and on and on and on. So someone who's managing that meeting tells you, you two, take that offline. Let's take that offline. Okay, guys? And you know what happens? You never take it offline. You never meet with that person. I've been told that personally myself in my own. I'm so gullible. I'm like, oh, we're going to meet on that later. We never met on that later. And you know what? It's never brought up later. Did you meet on it? It's amazing. Listen, cults have rituals. They have language. They have a method of belief, right? The old hands-on meeting where leadership talks about what's really happening, where the scripture is replaced for a mission statement. The offsite, like the retreat where everybody kind of gets together and they cheer one another on. Maybe a performance review. The confession booth. You sit across from somewhere and you try to give them and sell them your worth with a bullet point. A mission statement all over the building. Principles that you have to follow that create the language. And nobody questions it. Everybody just following. Everybody just using the same language over and over again. And you hope that you catch on. And you hope that you sound like an insider. Because if you can sound smart, then that's the answer. Now, I want to get into why it actually matters. Why does this even matter? Why does this bother you so much? Now, I know that I've tried to make this light and funny because I just like light and funny. I'm kind of light and funny, but there's a reality underneath this all. When workplace uses language that excludes and confuses other, it creates a gap between leadership and just regular people, between people who feel confident speaking up and people who stay quiet because they're not sure they're going to use the right, clear language. When you say what you mean, you include everyone. When language is clear, that's belonging. What's all behind this jargon? What are we really talking about in the first place? Can you imagine going back to a time when people just talk to each other like people? And we can laugh and we can handle business. We can hold it down in the office and out and just talk to one another like people. Now, I hope this episode didn't upset anyone, but I hope that if you use corporate speak and you realize, wow, I've joined the cult, you can always come on back. I think we can all stop doing this. We can stop having using these words and having these conversations that mean absolutely nothing. Yeah, let's do it. And if you know someone who doesn't understand corporate speak, they've never heard of it, and you'd like to introduce some phrases to them, please share this video. And even better than that, if you got some great ones, please share them. I read all of it. I'm excited to read what you have to say. I just scratched the surface. I could have gone on and on and on and on, as you can tell. But hey, let's see if we can become unconfused together on this one. Thank you so much for listening to So Confused with Britt Miller. And hey, let's be kind to each other out there. All right. See you later. Bye.